Critical Mash.
So the recent news from the gaming industry has left me feeling down lately, guys. And as a fan, I really want to take part in an industry that energizes me and uplifts the community to be excited about what's coming and take pride in the companies that are providing us with the fun experiences and the experiences that we've been playing for 20, 30 years, maybe in some cases more. But the recent news with PlayStation shutting down Bluepoint Games and the Xbox leadership restructure is just really disappointing for me. And it's frustrating to be a fan in this industry and to see that these decisions are just being made pointlessly from these companies and resulting in jobs being lost, lives being upturned, and just a general industry where, as a consumer, it's hard to get excited when we can blatantly see, even without a business focused background or insider knowledge, we could just see how incompetent these decisions are and how it's negatively impacting the industry overall. And so I just wanted to talk about what we can do about this as fans, how we can still take pride in this industry and enjoy this hobby that, for many cases, have been a lifelong passion. I know for me it has been. And so, starting with talking with your dollar, I know this gets tossed around a lot and it doesn't really seem to be working too much because these companies are making these baffling decisions and they don't seem to be stopping. But, put your money where your mouth is. If you're seeing, for example, PlayStation, they're shutting down Bluepoint Games. They haven't even published a single game since acquiring them, which is just like tossing money into a pit, right? So Sony invested, I'm not sure how much the total was when they acquired them, but they invested millions of dollars into acquiring Bluepoint Games. They don't publish a single game and then they shut them down. So there was the original investment of acquiring them, and then they probably burned millions of dollars for whatever they were supporting them with for years, and then they don't produce anything. So Sony, that incompetence of just burning millions and millions of dollars, upturning lives for no result is baffling. And here's what you do, right? It's hard as someone who's a PlayStation fan, supports the PlayStation ecosystem, to suddenly just cut that off and stop supporting it. But support the ventures that are more traditionally supporting what you believe in. Astrobot is a great example of this. It is a complete game experience. It has been supported since launch with great DLC for completely no cost, and it celebrates the PlayStation that historically we've known and loved. So support ventures like that, releases like that. Do not buy into the things, anything relating to, I don't know, their subscriptions, right? You don't need to enjoy, or you don't need to buy into PlayStation Plus or that ecosystem if you're not going to be taking advantage of the multiplayer of the free games. Not free, you're paying for it. And really, what I'm trying to say here is invest in the complete game experiences, invest in the studios that have that passion, and hopefully that buying power will influence PlayStation to treat their other studios in the same way when they see the success. For example, Concord notoriously flopped. That studio got shut down. It's another example of Sony wasting millions and millions of dollars. You'd have to think that eventually they'd wake up and see this isn't what the gaming community wants, this isn't what they're supporting, so we need to stop investing in projects like this and start investing in more traditional, complete game experiences where the teams have an actual passion, they have support from leadership, and they're able to publish an experience that resonates with the overall community. So, in essence, put your money where your mouth is. And that's not always effective, but you have to practice that, especially in today's industry, how turbulent it is. So that's number one. The other thing I'd recommend is to be extremely vocal about it. This is the reason I'm making this video. Sony, I do not support your actions shutting down Bluepoint Games. As a fan of PlayStation who's invested in your ecosystem since 2005, it makes me less likely to continue supporting that ecosystem. It makes me more likely to start to view competitors and buy into their ecosystems. And I am going to continue being vocal about this. Do not forget how Sony has treated Bluepoint Games, how they have mistreated, I should say, Bluepoint Games. Be vocal about it. Post about it on socials. Make videos about it. Write about it. Email Sony support. Maybe find a PR email address. Email that with your opinions on the matter. Make them aware of how you feel. Because if the consumers are vocal about it, then the investors will hear about it too. And the investors will also become more vocal about it when there's negative buzz around it. Negative buzz forces companies to change their ways. So that's what I would recommend. Be vocal. Reach out. If you have someone who is in leadership at PlayStation, say Herman Hulse, the head of PlayStation Studios, right? Reach out to him, DM him on socials if that's possible. If not, find some way to include him in your posts, tag him, and just, I'm not saying to spam or stalk these people, but make your voice heard, because as consumers, we need to advocate for ourselves and, what we'd like to support. The next thing I'd like to say is don't let it get you down. The gaming industry may be changing, but historically, it is an industry that is constantly changing. Unfortunately, it's not going to stay the way you remember it from whatever your golden era was. We get nostalgic for a lot of different eras, and the industry is constantly changing. But looking back, there have been many instances that mirror where we're standing now, maybe not necessarily with studio shutdowns and layoffs and the current turbulence, the shift away from physical media. But there have been many instances over the years and throughout the generations where things have been a bit shaky. They have moved away from what the gaming enthusiasts would like to support. And you know what? Whether it be from, the two pieces of advice I shared, putting your money where your mouth is or being vocal about it, these companies have learned their lessons the hard way, and they had to pivot back to their enthusiast audience. So some examples that come to mind for me are the Xbox 360 in the beginning of the Xbox One generation, when Microsoft pushed hard for Kinect. The ramifications of their Kinect integration and their focus on Kinect are still impacting them to this day. That original push with the Xbox One launch and the negativity surrounding it with Kinect, completely, that was the last time there was a leadership change at Xbox, and it has impacted the decisions and, the domino effect leading to their predicament today. Another example of this is with the Nintendo Wii. While it's a wildly successful system, or it was a wildly successful system, Nintendo originally found wild success, but then they started to run into issues with the casual market that they were selling it to. The buy-in of games, the sell-through rate, I should say, or the attachment rate, where these casual consumers, they were playing Wii Sports, which was included with it. Maybe they were buying Mario Kart, but they weren't buying too many games like the enthusiast market does. Additionally, while we can look back at that generation fondly and with nostalgia, and there are some great releases, it really is difficult to go back, set up all of the equipment that is needed to play the Wii with like the sensor bar and everything, and actively have to move around and play the system. I think Nintendo made a mistake. They heard how vocal fans were about having to support the motion controls and having little to no offerings for more traditional play styles, and they had to slowly but surely shift away from that to find success again. The Wii U was a failure. It failed for many reasons. It had both motion control and traditional gameplay modes. But look at what happened after the Wii U, right? The Wii U was the tail end of Nintendo's motion control era. it was a flop. And look at the Nintendo Switch and how it refocused on that enthusiast crowd and that traditional gaming experience. And it refined that. It evolved that concept, right? And it revolutionized the industry. The Switch was a breakthrough success. The Switch 2 is still selling well, despite some economic setbacks, I guess, that is bringing some negativity to that and the raising prices and everything. But it was revolutionary and it resonated with what the enthusiasts wanted, and that's why it continues to be successful. And both of these examples, Microsoft and Nintendo, they eventually had to pivot back to that enthusiast audience. And you know what? Right now, that enthusiast audience is rejecting half-assed live service games. The investment that Sony and Microsoft have made into these failed business ventures where they're taking which were once great studios and they're mismanaging them and then closing them down. And as fans, we shouldn't stand for that. Let's be vocal about it. Let's put our money where our mouths are and let's stand up, hoping that maybe, I'm optimistic that the new leadership over at Xbox is going to do what's right for the company and help course correct some of the mistakes they've made over the years. But you know what? That's what the now prior leadership with Phil Spencer was supposed to do over many years now. And they never quite got back to their success that was found during the 360 era. And now the new leadership has little to no experience in gaming. They're coming from an AI background. So it's hard for me to be optimistic, but we have to. And as gamers, if we continue to do these things, remain vocal, refuse to support things that either morally or personally we stand against, then these companies will get the message. And so what can we do in the meantime? If we're in a depressing state of the industry and the news cycles continually, it seems like the industry is self-destructing in a way, right? I would encourage you to support companies that care, companies that have that passion and that enthusiasm for gaming, the same love that we have. It could be independent corporations. It can be larger corporations that aren't making these stupid business decisions. Support these companies, and then the other companies will look around. They'll see that their competitors are doing better because they're supporting these more enthusiast and traditional methods of gameplay and development. And, once those heads are turned, they'll have to adjust their business strategies and their plans to reflect this. And hopefully it will course correct the industry in a way. So besides that, in the meantime, I encourage you to look back. We're at a point in the industry where we've had hit after hit released for years. And I know for me personally, my backlog is so large that I will never finish it in my lifetime. So look back, find the games that actually embrace the enthusiast community and embrace a love and a passion for the art form that is gaming, and play these games instead. That's what I would encourage. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is don't let the industry's stupid and baffling decisions get you down. Because we may be in a depressing state right now overall as an industry, but we have a lively history of incredible releases, thousands of which you've probably never gotten to, that we could divert our attention to while we kind of speak with our money and avoid the companies that are practicing these poor management decisions and are, in essence, imploding portions of the industry and upturning lives. But, there are these great releases from the last 30, 40 even years that you can go back to, play those. There's independent games. There are companies that are still releasing excellent and incredible releases that have that passion and that love for gaming as an art form. So we've been through phases before. We've been through Nintendo and the Kinect's foray into motion controls, where the console industry seems like it is changing for the worse and it will never go back. And you know what? They always course correct, because that's where the consumers are. The enthusiast community wants a traditional gaming experience. And right now, with live service games and studio shutdowns and layoffs, It's all an impact of mismanagement from Sony and Microsoft and whoever else, Ubisoft lately. And eventually, the leadership is going to have to wisen up or change until there's finally someone in a position that can effectively manage the industry. The industry as a whole is still young in the grand scheme of things, it's still growing. And unfortunately, for leadership positions and the management at these large companies, they haven't quite figured out how to consistently appeal to their core enthusiast consumers. And I think moving forward, they're going to be in for a rude awakening if they can't start appealing to us. And hopefully, like in the past, they'll be able to course correct, move back, and find success again. And we'll be able to get excited, support these companies again, and enjoy modern releases. But in the meantime, don't let that impact your passion for the hobby and your enthusiasm for playing games, because we have a rich library of games and a strong community together outside of these large corporations that are currently dominating and destroying the industry. Don't let it get to you. Enjoy your backlog, your back catalog, and don't give up. So to wrap up my point, don't let the bleakness of the gaming industry get to you. It is depressing. We've been through some good times, and it will get good again. These companies need to wake up, and they will wake up and realize that they've been mismanaging things when they keep seeing the red continually and continually, and if we remain vocal online. Go back to your backlog, enjoy some indie hits, support the companies that are making smart decisions for the overall health of the industry. But do not move away from the industry. If more and more enthusiasts move away from the industry, it will have to permanently change and we will lose our way. Remain here, remain vocal, and keep playing. That's the point I wanted to make. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for watching Critical Mash.